Well, I thought today I would do something a little bit different on the channel. I'm just going to do a point and shoot type video, just reflecting on some of the lessons I learned in my theology study life in 2025, stuff I'm remembering as I go into 2026. I hope this less formal, raw type video edifies you today. I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts. It's probably going to be a bit more longer, I guess, uncut, whatever you want to call it. But let's chat about some of the things I learned from my study life in 2025. One of the key lessons I learned last year from reading various books, I think I read over 30, 35 books last time I counted, which was a lot. So that's excluding the Bible, by the way. So that was a very productive year in terms of the number of books I read. So I was very thankful for that. Most of those were read in full. Some of them were books that I had got a substantial way into. Thankfully, most of the books I chose to read last year, I didn't get a few pages in and kind of just abandon it, which was nice. Sometimes that does happen, but as I've grown, I guess I've learned and gained the skill of curation. I think that's one of the key lessons I learned last year was just the importance of being hyper curated with the books I'm choosing to read. I often have levels of curation. There's a lot of great books. My Ultimate Reformed book list is a great example. There's hundreds of books on there that you could choose to read. But then you have to curate a layer deeper, right? By the way, if you want to grab that, download it in the description for free. You have to curate beyond just a list of books that someone else gives you, though. You have to ask the questions like, which books are right for me to read right now? What are my needs and goals that, God is prompting me through his word to work on, or whatever it is. So you do need to have multiple levels of curation with the types of books you read. You're going to have books you want to read someday, books you want to read in the near future, books you really want to read now, books you want to read today. Those are all going to be different levels of curation. So I was just reminded of that throughout last year, and it's an attitude I want to take into 2026. I also just learned the centrality of the Bible. Honestly, the more I study theology books, the more I just want to get pointed back to the word. And it's almost like I have this episode where I'm just enraptured in theology and systematic theology and wonderful books that expound the scriptures, the Puritans, for example. That just makes me want to go back to scripture and just sometimes just me and my Bible, as in just me reading my Bible, studying the scriptures. It just is that comfortable simplicity that the ordinary means of grace are enough, just reading the scriptures. And so that's another lesson I learned is like just reminding myself of the primacy of scripture over all other books, I guess. And it's like this flow-on effect. The more I read the scriptures, the more I want to see how other people have unpacked them, and then that makes me want to read the scriptures more. So that was a really cool lesson I learned as well. One of the more practical things I learned in 2025, I would say, is it's okay for your study habits to change regularly, I would say. What I mean by that is I got two young kids, right? And thankfully, a huge thing I've always been big on is whatever season of life you're in, you can always find time in the day to read the word and to study theology, right? You can always do it. It just has to look different in different seasons of life. And in this season of life, for me, it's changed a lot. So I've always been testing out what time of day works well for me to be able to get reliable theology study time in. Is it in the mornings? Is it waking up early? Is it making the most of a lunch break or a downtime in the afternoon? Or maybe when the kids go to bed at night? Or what time is that? For me right now, I've settled on, two sessions. One sort of in the morning, right before I start the task list of the day. So I get into my office, do my study, then I tackle the day's tasks. And that's really helpful for me. And then I have a second session at nighttime. Once the kids have gone to bed, before I hop into bed myself, I read another book at nighttime. And so that's been a really helpful balance for me. It's where I'm at right now. That's gone over 3 or 4 iterations in the last 12 months. And that's okay. You've got to constantly figure out what time of day is going to allow you the maximum focus and energy to put into study. And so if you're in a season where things can be a little hectic, it's okay to figure that out. Another thing I learned, which I did know already, it's not necessarily a new thing, but it's okay to break up your theological reading with other types of reading. One of the best books I actually read in 2025 was The Hobbit, J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Fiction book, fantastic work. I've never read The Lord of the Rings in its entirety. I've obviously seen the movies. I have read them in part when I was younger. And then I made the decision, I owned the books, bought them a few years ago, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to read these, but first I want to read The Hobbit. And just as a break between all the heavier theological reading I was doing, it was just so nice to read that book. Don't regret it whatsoever. And it actually refreshed me to be able to go and read other works. Of course, this is not saying you need to necessarily take a break from scripture, but it just is nice to, break it up a bit, basically. Highly recommend The Hobbit, by the way, as a fiction book. Obviously, Tolkien being Catholic has some Christian themes in there. We can have a chat about Catholicism at another point, but there's that influence in the book, right? But it was really enjoyable. So just that reminder, it's okay to take a break, and that was really comforting to me. Another thing I learned is, again, something that wasn't new to me, but it was just a good reminder, was using holidays, like time off work, to pursue extra reading time on top of your normal study habits, right? So I might not always be able to read for 5 hours or 3 hours a day, but on holidays, I could read for 2-3 hours sometimes, and that's nice. Still difficult when you got young children, and don't get me wrong, some days I wish I could have done more, but it didn't happen that way. And of course, you got to prioritize correctly. I want to spend time with my children as well on holidays. That's an even higher priority, right? But at the same time, that's a great opportunity to make the most of. It's a time to dig in when you're on holidays. I read like 4 or 5 books this year on holidays. I read Spurgeon's lectures in part, Jeremy Walker's The New Calvinism Considered, an older book. It was quite interesting. Chosen by God by R.C. Sproul. The Case for Amillennialism by Kim Riddlebarger. And I believe there was a couple of others in there as well. And it was just this period of heightened focus and reading, which was fantastic. So if you're ever in that situation where you're on a holiday, make the most of the extra time you've got. The Old Testament, this is another thing I just was reminded of last year, is whenever I'm reading the scriptures and I get back in deep to the Old Testament, I read a few Old Testament books in particular this year, some of it in my personal study. Actually, some of it was in family worship as well. But Joshua was fantastic to go through in family worship, as well as Proverbs, which we are still going through slowly, one proverb a day. It's just been a blessing to soak up that wisdom one verse at a time. I really think that's the way Proverbs should be read, ideally, is just taking in those nuggets every day. I can't remember who said it. A proverb a day keeps the stupid away, or something like that. I think that's true. Another book I really got a lot of richness from, though, this year was Exodus, and just really diving into the giving of the law, noticing things that I hadn't noticed before, God's favor over Israel, even before their deliverance from Egypt, and multiplying them, or things like the 10 Commandments being given in the Book of the Covenant before they were written on stone tablets, and just many other wonderful little details about God's providence and God's sovereignty over the nation of Israel and in the giving of the law and deliverance. It was a fantastic read. I really just took it slow through Exodus this year, about halfway through the year, and it was a really, really good time. So just that reminder that the Old Testament has so much richness. It gives such a wonderful context for the New Testament, and really diving in deep and studying the things. And I'm taking that into 2026. I'm reading Judges, and I'm actually going to go through all the historical books again this year. Starting from Joshua, which we had read, as a family worship thing. I'm reading Judges in my personal study time with my study Bible, which is super helpful for reading Judges because there's some interesting details to pay attention to. And then I'm going to go through 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, Chronicles, etc. And it's going to be great. So something I learned and was just reminded of. Another huge one was the increase in reading stamina. The longer you are a student of theology, a student of the scriptures, your reading stamina just naturally increase. I had a big moment last year where I was able to reflect on the past 5 years of my reading and study life, and whether it's the scriptures and just the richness with which I pay attention to certain details, like I think the Spirit really does illuminate to you things that you previously didn't. The more you dive into the Word, there's like these layers and layers and layers of richness that just come out. But also reading older treatises, older works. I read more Puritans last year than probably I ever have before. And I just learned so much from the the richness of their books, yes. But I also, as I was reading them all, the first few Puritan books you might read, especially if you're reading it in the original languages, you kind of like, it might be a bit of a grind because it's a bit of a different writing style than what we're used to in the 21st century. But if you do it more and more, it's funny how I got to this point where I was reading Precious Remedies Against Satan's Devices, and I also read The Mortification of Sin by John Owen. It was just this moment clicked where I'm like, this is actually not that hard to read. If I did this 2 years ago, I would have found this a lot more difficult. So your study life, as you read more challenging or old types of books that maybe have differing English language, be encouraged that it will get better and it will get easier if you just keep doing it. So that was a great reminder. Last thing that I was reminded of last year was just that some books need to be chewed. I'm the kind of guy who likes to set a goal to get through a book, finish it, and move on to the next one. Now, that's not necessarily to rush through it. It's just that I really like to diligently focus on one thing and get it done. And there's a lot of benefit to that, don't get me wrong, but some books, like I'm reading through Calvin's Institutes right now, and you just need to take it slowly. You can't read it all in a few weeks. You need to take 6 months and read a chapter a day, or take a year and read a chapter a day, or however often, right? Same with Spurgeon's Lectures, which is the little grey book behind me. I've been reading that on and off throughout 2025, and I've read most of it now. But it wasn't. I always had the intention of sort of reading it over a few weeks, but every time I read it, I just had to sit with what he just talked about a bit and really reflect and ponder, because it wasn't the kind of book where you could just jump to the next lecture without really thinking it through and letting it sink in. And some books are like that. You can't really jump through without it sort of impacting how you take in that information, take in that wisdom from the book. And so there are some books that do need to be chewed on, and they do need to take a bit of a time to read. I always encourage students when they're reading those type of longer, meatier books to read lighter things that you can sort of read on a week-to-week basis, quickly finish, move on to the next one, but always have that deeper underlying stuff. For example, when I'm reading Calvin's Institutes at the moment, I read it after my Bible study in the morning. So I read my Bible, going through Judges, do some scripture memorization, and then, which I'm memorizing Ephesians 1 at the moment, and a few other things. And then I read through basically a chapter of Institutes, make a few notes, highlights in that, and just enough to really renew the mind, I guess. And yeah, that's just a truth I learned last year. Chew on books, some of them need it. And that's just a few things I wanted to share with you in this video. I hope you enjoyed this more informal style video where I'm just rambling basically and sharing my thoughts. If this edified you in any way, please let me know in the comments and just give it a thumbs up, because maybe I'll do some more loose type videos like this rather than more edited, structured ones. And any suggestions for future things you'd like me to talk about, drop it down below in the comments as well. Remember to grab the Ultimate Reformed book list. It's my one-stop shop for all wonderful, sound, Reformed theology books in different categories, whether it's the Puritans, eschatology, systematic theology, everything. Grab that for free down below. Just enter your email and I'll send that over to you. Homegrown Theologian, my program for helping you become the theological leader you need to be to lead in the spheres God has entrusted you. It's still open for enrollment, so go check that out below. It is a course. It is a community. We read books together. We help you build good study habits, and so you can serve in those spheres, like I just said. All right, I'm going to leave it at that for this video. God bless. I'll see you next time.